Hello, everyone, and welcome to another GateDrop.com podcast. I'm with Andrew McKinstry, but more importantly, Rick Elzinga is here. Rick, of
Hi,
course, had two big races in America recently. Rick, thanks for doing this. How are you feeling?
feeling great. A bit of jet lag, but fine.
That's good. That's good. The first question, obviously, let's go straight into this. You got back from America. Are you happy to be back in the Dutch weather, or did you start to enjoy that American heat?
Well, the heat was just a bit too hot actually, so I'm completely fine with being back here. So yeah.
Good.
We actually will start off with how it happened. Obviously, we played a very small part in the opportunity for you to go to America after you revealed in our interview that next year you might actually stop racing at a high level if you don't get a ride that pays you. But off the back of that interview, did you ever think you'd have the opportunity to go to America this year and race two AMA national rounds?
Well, not really actually, and yeah, it was just a dream, you know. I think for most people it's a dream, but I wasn't expecting it at all because most of the people and of the riders and teams in the USA don't watch the GPs a lot, especially the AMX races. So yeah, I'm just glad you guys did a small column about me, and it made its way to Vital, and then I made my way to the USA. So that's quite special. I think not a lot of people can say that they rode an AMA national, so it's kind of a big check on my checklist. So
And Brent Norman helped you out a lot over there. He seemed to really enjoy your company and been able to help you out. I'm sure you're very thankful for everything he did for you. And was he good for even just showing you the tracks and the whole setup of America over there as well?
well, to me, Brent and his wife Elizabeth were just amazing. They they were so guest free. It was almost frightening sometimes. So yeah, they just took me and my mechanics, my friends from here, who I took. They just took us in like we lived there for years. So you know, felt really great there with those people. They were really amazing.
Obviously, before COVID-19 came along, in terms of you going to America, it would have been quite easy. You know, you book a flight, you hop on a plane, and you're in America. But obviously, COVID came along, and traveling, I'm sure, must be a bit of a nightmare. What sort of hoops did you have to jump through in order to know you could even go to America before going there?
Well, I think Brent and I started talking like 3 weeks before Fox, the race. 3 weeks before I came, which was 1 week before Fox. Yeah, you just had to do so many things. That's just incredible. So many paperwork and just I don't know, just so many reading and trying and emailing and doing stuff. And you had to pass this Homeland Security check for an NIE, which is like the bypass for the COVID stuff, you know, and that normally takes about 4 to 6 months, so couldn't wait that long. So I just emailed the AMA and asked for help, and they were pretty amazing with the help because they did kind of most of the work for me, and yeah, I think that was pretty great as well because it took them only 1 or 2 days before I got it in, and then some other stuff like license and just some other COVID stuff and insurance and that stuff. They helped me with everything, so you know they were a big help in that stuff. So amazing guys there.
What were your first impressions of America? Had you been before, or was this your first time in the USA?
Well, it was my first time. Yeah, I liked it a lot. Some tracks were better than I thought. Some tracks were worse than I thought. Like some tracks had some just more hype than the real track. And yeah, just I think the tracks and most of the riders are just pretty pretty big. Actually, everything is bigger there. And yeah, the tracks were a bit different. They were more fast, less big bumps, still bumpy, but less bigger bumps. And then it kind of felt like I was doing a hot lap, but then for 30 minutes, so it was quite heavy as well. So yeah, that was the biggest difference in the tracks.
I've been there as well to see a couple of supercrosses on actually Hangtown US National 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But in Southern California, everything's very close. You know, the practice tracks that amateur riders can ride on even. Although I found they seemed to be smoother than what a regular track would be in Holland or Europe. Did you find that for the practice tracks, or how did you enjoy them?
Well, a couple of tracks were more flat, but kind of like Dornoland or something, like really flat for us. Also because it's like more kind of like a hard pack base, and they just move it out a lot. But if you go to Glen Helen or something and you go after midday, then it's already pretty beat up, so you can just train. And then you also see the pros go out there as well at that time. So Brent already knew where to go and which tracks to go to avoid the local riders and get to the rough stuff, you know. So yeah, we mostly went to the tracks where the pro riders were training at.
Yeah, and just at the practice days, what was your speed like against some of the top AMA riders at the practice tracks, and who all did you share a track with?
I was with riders like Webb, Roxon, Lawrence, Shimoda, Hemmecker, guys like that. And Lawrence was pretty amazing in training. He was also like a couple of seconds faster than Shimoda as well, but that was pretty similar to Shimoda speed. And he was in Glen Helen as well as in Elsinore, and that was kind of the same. I followed him a bit as well, so yeah, the speed was a bit of the same, but you really could see like Cooper was also in Elsinore and Lawrence were just like a couple of seconds faster than us. But yeah, mostly like the rest of the Star Yamaha, like Kitchen and Fry, were like the same speed as me and Shimoda mostly.
Did you know Jet whenever he was in Europe? Did you have any contact with him then? Did he know who you were, and did you get to talk to him? No,
not really. I knew, I always knew about him a lot. Not that I followed him, but some way normally like an 85 rider I don't follow a lot, but him I did somehow. But yeah, I was always like his style a lot. Like you see now, it's just incredible. Just the easy, smooth way he's riding, and then going to the US and stuff. I started following it a bit more, but you know, never really talked to him on track.
Okay. And your first practice and qualifying session wasn't in with that A group with Jet Lawrence and the rest of the guys. It was in the B group. Was that an advantage for you? I presume it would be a disadvantage. How did you feel about having to be in the B group to try and get a time?
It was a pretty big disadvantage because the track was pretty deep rips, and I watered it like just like it was in free practice. It was so muddy. I just burned my clutch out because I just couldn't get up the hill. That was that heavy. And then in time practice it was a bit better, but still sloppy. And I think in the end of the time practice it got a bit more hard. So Group A would have been the best place to be, I think, for qualifying. But I think I did pretty well because the conditions were more like back here in Europe, like soft and big ruts and that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was the qualifying was pretty good for me.
And were you nervous going into that day whenever you woke up in the morning or went to bed the night before, or did riding with those guys help you show your speed was good on the practice tracks beforehand?
Well, I wasn't nervous about riding against Lawrence or some other great riders or something about that. It was just pretty stressful going in not knowing what to do because the sighting lab, the practice, basically everything is just different, or the procedures you have to follow or that kind of stuff, just all a little bit different. And then with the heat mostly also, it was just taking so much energy to keep my body cool and then race as well. So it was quite a eventful day and just a bit stressful because of the new things we had to do, not because of the race or something, because I just loved racing there.
And about your two races, your speed was actually very good. You were in the top 15. I think even the second moto, you got as high as 12th, but the fuel in the first moto, I think it boiled and it went into your mouth. I can imagine that didn't taste very good. I think that then impacted your second moto. Can you talk us through that and how you recovered from the fuel as well?
Yeah, in Fox it was just incredibly hot. I think the first moto, it was the hottest part of the day. It was about 44 or 45 degrees there. So it was pretty killing for this guy. And then I think I was in 14th place nearing the end of the moto. I think before I pulled off, I was in 14th. I think like 6 laps before the end, like 25 minutes done, my benzene boiled over, and then the little tube of the gas cap went off, and it just squirted all over my body and over my face, but I couldn't stop straight away, and I wasn't really expecting any benzene from there, so I just breathed it all in, and then from there on I got really just dizzy because I was already overheating. I still kept going. I stopped. I put the little tube back on.
Okay.
The bike was also a bit boggy because there was a lot of air inside as well because of the boiling. So sometimes the bike would bog pretty big. But yeah, after that, just got a little bit nauseous and almost had to vomit a couple of times. So in the end, I just couldn't breathe anymore with the heat and the benzene. So I stopped. And then second moto, I was just shaking because I couldn't eat or drink really because my stomach was just really upset. And then I just didn't have the energy or power to race a full 30-minute motos at the speed that I do. So I tried. I was, I think, close to the top 10 for a while, and then after 20 minutes I just stopped again because I was just shaking and my stomach was really bad and that kind of stuff. So it wasn't really worth it, which was a shame for me. But yeah, I think it took me 3 or 4 days to start eating normally again because the fuel had quite a big impact on my stomach. So.
And then obviously a week later you go to Hangtown to race your second AMA National. And that went better for you. You got points in both motos. Can you just talk us through your day? The AMA, I'm not sure if anyone's told you, but the AMA coverage wasn't so great. They never even had a leaderboard up, so it was quite hard for us to follow watching on the TV.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Lawrence was going to be champ, so they followed him, I think, all the way. Hangtown was a bit different than I expected. More like a hardpack track, kind of like Deutschenthal, but less deep ruts. But still, it felt a bit the same. It was less hot, about 34, 35, which is quite a big difference comparing to 44 in Fox. But Fox was more of my track because it feels a bit sandy and it isn't really hard pack and this kind of stuff. But still, I did pretty well because I wanted to do better than Fox. to redeem myself a bit. And then I got 17th and 15th or 16th overall, which was pretty okay on a stock bike, I think.
Yeah, and what were your starts like actually at Hangtown? Were you having to charge through from the pack, or did you get relatively okay starts? Like, did you make many passes to get into those positions?
In Fox, I got first motor. I got a bit lucky because some guys crashed on the inside on the second turn, and I just could go around them. So I made up quite a lot of places. Second motor, I just first couple of laps, I just passed a lot of guys, like I also do in AMX, mostly first laps, which gave me a pretty good starting position, like after 3 laps where you settle down a little bit. In Hangtown, I had kind of the same start, but it was a bit more difficult to pass it quickly, so I just kind of stayed in the same position. I think I started around like 20th place or something like that, because the start straight was pretty deeply ripped every time you go out, and the stock bike didn't help against those fast bikes there.
Yeah, and obviously just with racing the stock engine, I feel like the 250 class in America, there's so many factory guys and so many factory engines. It must make it very difficult being on a stock bike. So it's a disadvantage straight away, I would say.
I think a lot of riders have fast bikes there. I think they are faster than they are here. I don't know what they do with it, but they don't have a lot of sound restrictions or anything, so they can get a little bit more out of the engine and get kind of stuff. Everybody is using the special benzene, they just spend all of the money on the bike. So I had a stock bike, got another CDI box, got my exhaust from home, and that was it basically. So especially in Hangtown, it's a lot of up and down there. So on the uphills I lost quite a lot, and then on the downhill I will come back a little bit, but it was still fine racing there. It was pretty fun battling with those guys, and then it was pretty clean racing as well. So it was fun to be there and race those tracks.
And was your speed about where you expected? Did you have a goal of around the top 15, or were you looking just to get points, or more into the top 10? How did your riding go for you?
Well, I hope to do a little better, with the time I had. I think it was pretty great what we still did with the stock bike, because I wasn't really thinking that my bike and their bike were so much different. Okay. So and just the base tempo, the pace what they do is just different, because the track is just more like a hot lap, so that was a bit hard to adjust, but I think in the end we did a pretty great job by adjusting and trying to get the best result out of it so quickly.
And how was your riding compared to your AMX races? Would you say it was on a level, or were you more comfortable racing than AMX?
I would say if I ride like I did in the AMA, in AMX races, I would say I ride terrible, because here I just I adjusted to the tracks and to the bike, and just feels normal, and then there everything is new. So the one day I was riding a bit stiff, and the other day I was braking too early, and it wasn't fully complete, so the picture wasn't just complete to go all out. So I really had to fight big time with myself as well, and really think about what I was doing during the riding and racing, to not lose a lot of seconds a lap on other guys. So it was pretty difficult to adjust in a short time as well.
And in terms of the American interest, I feel like the fans were actually very, very interested. Obviously, it went mad on Vital. But in terms of the American journalists, I feel like they weren't really that bothered. Kellen from Racer X, obviously, he's interested and he done an interview with you. But aside from him, did many of the other journalists introduce themselves to you, say hello?
Well, a lot of people from the AMA itself came over and talked to us because they thought it was pretty great, and we had quite a lot of fans come over as well because they thought it was just amazing what we did, getting me over there and racing there. Yeah, it was a bit of a shame that I didn't ride Fox that well because just didn't get the results that were needed because I had quite a lot of hype going in, and then Hangdown was much better, but then the people weren't really looking at it anymore. But I think we got some people to look, and a lot of people, especially on the training tracks, were watching me. From the guys from Honda to Kawasaki and Yamaha, I've seen them all, and they were all quite, looking at me like, who's that guy? And then, yeah, maybe they saw something in me, maybe not. I don't know.
Just going to go back and look a little bit at your career now. For me, I started to take notice of you when you were in the MX 150 class. I'll never forget the time we went to Lommel GP and you were racing there with Albie Wilkie, and he was a pretty big guy. It was like David V. Goliath. What do you remember that day and that specific year, and also the championship itself? At the time, I felt like a lot of people looked down at that championship, but there's actually some pretty good riders emerging from it now.
Well, I was doing the AMX 85 as the main championship races, and then we did some AMX 150s on the side because they were just quite fun to ride, and it was a good training because the bikes were pretty heavy for a little guy like me back then. But I was still doing pretty fine. But you just could see like in time practice I would be fastest by quite a big margin, and the heavier the track gets, the slower I would get, just because I just couldn't hang on to the bike. I wasn't strong enough. And then big guys like Hafisto or Albie Wilkie, or just 15-year-olds, just really tall and big guys, like twice as big as two heads bigger than me, and then I had to race with them. So it was quite a learning races. So it was pretty cool to do those races.
And then in the MX 125 class, you signed with the MGC Yamaha team, which is the official Yamaha team in that series. What was it like being part of that setup? And I believe you also worked with Stephen Frossard there. What was it like working with him as well?
Well, I didn't really work with Stephen that long. I think just a couple of months, and then I got injured in Mantova. I worked quite a big time with the team manager Louis. Mostly just training hardback, and like the technique that they have is just a bit different, and they didn't learn it to me before, and somehow I just go back to him on race day and that kind of stuff to ask some stuff that he thinks is better or not, or I always ask if he watched me ride or something, and if I can change something, or that kind of stuff. So I really follow his point of view in especially hardback racing. I really enjoyed the team because it was like a big family there, and I still go back there on race weekends to just talk to them because they are all just great people to be with.
And since moving up to the AMX 250 class up until this year, you picked up a lot of injuries. Must have been very, very frustrating. Just how was all that to deal with? Because it felt like you could never show your true potential.
Yeah, it was most of the time. I feel like I was the best on my last year on 1-5 before I got injured, before the season even started. I was, in Spain and that kind of stuff, like how I rode in Mantova on the Italian International. It was just the best I have ever ridden in my career back then. And then since then, I just have been, just injury after injury mostly. It's pretty frustrating as well. And then in 2019, I broke my leg and my arm. I still had the plate and the pin inside for a long time. And in the middle of the 2020 season, I removed it because I just couldn't do anything really. Couldn't train, couldn't go cycling or anything. So it wasn't working out that well. And after I removed those still stuff out of me, things just went uphill again. And since then until now, it just has been going uphill again. I feel like I can be better still, but I'm still going uphill, so that's progress, and any progress I will take.
You worked with David Philipparts, a former world champion. Were you able to learn a lot from him? He's still a pretty fast rider even now. He's always had a lot of fighting spirit as well as the speed. What did you learn from the Italian, or was it difficult with the Dutch and Italian language and culture?
Well, I think he's quite a mental guy. He's pretty strong mentally, and I really looked up to that. So I learned quite a lot mentally, to be mentally tough and just fight even though you're in last place. That's what he does. He's just a big fighter. So I really have to value what he has accomplished and just what he's still doing.
At the start of the 2020 season, I think the initial plan was to start up your own team. How was it putting all that into place? Obviously, not too many riders your age. That's not a direction they usually go down. So how was it putting your whole team together?
Well, before that season, I was with Philipparts' team. And after that was finished, we were going to some teams to talk. But just before that happened, I broke my leg and my arm. And that was just the biggest problem, because most of the teams were like, they felt like it was quite a big injury and they didn't know how I would come back to racing. So, in the end, I think in Valkenswaard was my first AMX. I rode about 5 or 6 times in 8 months or something. So still qualified, which was pretty good. But since then it was pretty not. It was quite. You could really see who was still behind me. My personal sponsors mostly, and then they helped me. They helped me to get back to racing and then get a team again. So really thankful for that.
Yeah, and obviously the TBS conversions team, they stepped up to give you a ride, and this year you've been really, really strong. What do you think the reason is for your improvement?
Like I said, just the pin and the screws and the plates just removed, or they were bothering me quite a bit and just bothering me more and more. So I am since then on just training and keep getting progress and just basically taking it race by race and just trying to get better and better.
And I believe now you're working with Max Nagel. That's a guy that knows what it takes in this sport, won lots and lots of GPs. What's it like working with him, and in what way is he able to help you?
I like working with him because I feel like he's his way of thinking about stuff and doing things is a bit of the same than I do. He's quite straight to the point. He doesn't say a lot, but what he says is true. So what he says, you really have to listen to it. I like working with him. I also ride with him, which is pretty good because he's just really fast. Even on a 250, he can beat me easy, especially on a hardback track. So it's just I was always like, yeah, you have a 450, and then you took out the 250 and just beat me still. So it was like, how did you do that? And he has helped me quite a bit with the suspension. I think since like a month before off until now, I haven't touched the suspension at all really. So we got a pretty good base setup, and and that's the biggest part which he helped me with, the suspension setup. And if I have to know something about the track or sprocket or that kind of stuff, I just call him, and then he has the best advice there is, and then I listen to that.
Talk me through Osric. That was a brilliant race, but also obviously your home GP. So you had all the fans cheering for you over the fences. You were going for the win. You weren't holding anything back, but you were racing Lapucci, who was going very fast, and I think Liam, you had him to catch as well, and he obviously has a lot of fans. So the atmosphere must have been fantastic for you to experience, and plus get that win. How was that for you? It must have been one of your best days of your career.
Yeah, I was so coming from the UK. I was a bit disappointed and frustrated about it because I was pretty sick, no COVID, but just something was bothering me pretty big time, and just didn't know what it was. But just before off, like a couple of weeks before, things went better. I got better. I could train like I normally do. I had to adjust a bit because I couldn't make the full 25-minute motos there, so it was quite hard to do. But to be in Oz, I normally didn't like that track a lot because I didn't have a lot of good races there before. But this race was one of the best of my life. So with the ditch fans back, took quite some time with COVID, and everybody was just back there and cheering me on. And then especially the last couple of minutes and laps, the second motor were amazing with the Dutch fans just cheering me on, especially on the last lap when I passed Liam. It was just madness there. I just loved it.
And looking ahead for the rest of the season, have you set yourself any goals you'd like to achieve? I'm assuming you'd like to stand on the top step of the podium once again.
Well, I would like to keep my top 3 streak going, moto by moto. I also I just like to, I think if I keep the top 3 streak going, I will also might be able to get a bit closer to the guys in first and second position in the championship as well. And then I just hope to get a couple of more wins as well. A win is always good and always fun to get. And just try to look at it race by race, because we are already a lot of points ahead of the 4th place guys. So it's a bit of a 3-way battle, I think. And then I think Lapucci is quite far, but anything can happen also with me. So that's why I just take it race by race, and then we will see where we stand in a couple of races.
Yeah, we've obviously seen Horgmo race on MX2 GP. We've seen guys like Scuturi. We've seen Everts. You've obviously had a go at two AMA national rounds now. before the end of the season, do you think we'll see a wildcard MX2 GP, or are you just going to fully focus on the MX250?
Well, we were going to ride in Arco, the MX2 GP class, but that the calendar changed, so now I have to ride myself in EMX there. So that's not a possibility for me anymore. But maybe somewhere else. I don't know yet.
On your future beyond this year and into 2022, has there been much interest from America, or would you prefer to go up to the MX2 World Championship?
There has been some interest. Also back here in Europe, there has been some teams. I just want to, like I said in the GateDrop column, I just want to have a paying ride. That's all that matters right now. To be in the US or to be here, just quite a different way of life. I like things in the US. I like things here. So I don't really have a preference or anything. So yeah, just see what's going to happen in the future.
I believe you're planning on going back to America in December, all being well. Is that more or less just going to be a holiday after the end of this season? And are you hoping to get some Supercross riding in at the same time?
Yeah, well, in the US, it's mostly about the Supercross there. So Brent suggested to me to come back in December and try to ride and train on Supercross, see how that goes. So it's and then just show to the riders there what I can do, and adjust to Supercross tracks and riding and the style there. So that is the main part of going back. If I go back, it's pretty wide. Maybe I get a contract here, and then I want to focus on racing here, and then maybe I get a contract in the US, and then I just go there and stay there. So it's just pretty wide. I don't know if I go back, but I really want to go back sometime soon, just to train Supercross as well. So it's pretty fun to do. And then in the US, the tracks are just a bit different than the Supercross tracks in France or something. So would love to get that experience as well.
And obviously, I would quite like to see you in the MX2 World Championship next year, but if it came down to it, would staying in the EMX 250 Championship, would that be an option for you as long as a team pays you, and then maybe you could go for that championship if things don't work out in an MX2?
Well, yeah, of course. Just trying to make it my job. And I was looking to get a MX2 ride, but if nothing comes up and AMX ride comes up, then I will still take it, I think.
On going to America, I don't think there's been many Dutch riders have done that, especially with Supercross. Have you spent much time riding Supercross? Do you feel you will be able to pick it up quite quickly?
Oh, I've done it quite. I have done some tracks in France and just riding there, but it's it's just a motocross suspension, so it's a bit different. I think I can pick it up quite easy because I'm a technical rider. I don't ride with a lot of force or anything. So and I'm quite tall, so I can seat bounce and go through the whoops easier than other guys can. So but I have no idea what my speed is compared to the guys back in the US. So we will have to see about that.
And just on the lifestyle, if you do go there, do you think it would be easy to adapt? Obviously, Southern California, everything's relatively close. You have the tracks, you have a couple of nationals, a lot of the Supercross races are there. The plan would obviously be to stay there, I presume, if that's where you end up.
Yeah, well, I think I think so. Yes. I just lost love being there. And I think I love traveling, and then I've lived a year in Italy as well, and lived outside my home for quite some time, on and off. So I really love being in the US. So I maybe if I can go there, that's again a dream comes true to me to get a paying ride or just ride there and get to race the Supercross series. It's just incredible to me.
The last question for me is, obviously Dutch motocross at the moment is quite unbelievable. You've got guys at the top of their game in MXGP, Koldenhoff, Hurlings, and you've got some young guns in MX2, Kaido Wolf. I'm not sure if you've seen any of the EMX racing at the weekend, but you've got kids like Dex Vanderbroek in the 65, and then in the 85, you've got Lottie van Drunen. What do you think it's down to that there's so many young Dutch talents coming up at the moment?
Well, I think as a Dutch rider, I think the youth in the Dutch is getting educated pretty well. They have been riding sand tracks for a long time, so you need a lot of physical strength and just the technical stuff as well. I think the French are still the best with that kind of stuff. Maybe not in the youth, but I always, they keep sneaking up on you, and then there they are in MX2 and MX1. But I think just below that, it's the Dutch people, the Dutch as well. They are doing a pretty good job as well with training the youth and getting them up to the GPs.
And how much has Jeffrey Hurlings helped that? Because I presume he's pretty big and famous in Holland. Do you think he's inspired the youth riders we see what Kai de Wolf's doing as well? The self-belief of the likes of you to come up that it's possible to be an elite level World Championship motocross rider?
Oh, I'm not the kind of guy that looks up to anyone, but I really admire the way he has been riding, especially back in the in the MX2 days, like those years when he won Lear up and almost left the whole field. I think he did, or maybe just
just one
or two riders he didn't.
Van Hoorbeek was the only guy that didn't lap.
Yeah, that's how it was. And then I was there as a 65 rider, just watching them, and it was just amazing. The only two riders I knew back then were Hurlings and Caroli, and then from there on, just would love to race there as well.
And Liam Everts at Raiola done well in his World Championship debut, 13th overall, going 16:11. Does that give you confidence? Were you watching that to see how he did? Because you've been very good in EMX2 this year as a sort of gauge of where you could be.
Well, I watched the race. I don't know where I would stand. I haven't been there. I haven't raced there. I don't know. I think Liam did a pretty great job, especially the second moto. I would like to race a GP. What happens, and if it's not this year, maybe next year.
And you feel the level, having raced AMA 250 and now looking at the World Championship, the level is quite similar there from what you've seen and how Liam and Kevin Horgmo do in the World Championship, or where do you think that lies?
I think I feel like if you get a US rider over to Europe, or a Europe rider to the US, they wouldn't do as good as they do, on home turf. So, but I think I was quite happy with getting points, because they are all pretty fast there. I think the US and the GPs are just a little thing on itself. But I think the the GP guys are just a tad bit faster than the US guys are outdoors.
Have you gained confidence from your experience in America riding with the intensity? You mentioned that they ride with lap to lap, and seeing Jet Lawrence and Justin Cooper, from whenever you race AMX 250 and go to MX2, do you feel those couple of weeks have really helped you as a rider?
Well, I think so. Yeah, we did some back there. You have to do 30-minute motos instead of 25, and also with the heat it was quite hard. So I think physically on the bike and pushing wise, it's just I've grown a bit. I hope. But riding here is just a little bit different. You have to adjust quite a bit because in Europe it's harder for the body because you have to push and pull the bike around more than there. It's just a little bit different. I think in the US it's more a bit more explosive movements from the body, but still then you let the bike do the work, and here you have to pull and push the bike to let the bike do its job. So it's just a little bit different from there and here.
That's fantastic, Rick. That's a really good insight into what was a last-minute trip to America, but I think Andy will agree. You really showed a lot of speed there for your situation on a stock bike, and I think I'm sure everyone in Europe was rooting for you and pretty happy with your progress and your results. So thanks for doing this, and congratulations again on what you achieved in America.
Thank you a lot. Thanks a lot.
Thanks very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's Rick Elzinga, Flying Dutch kid who showed a few Americans his speed and now hopes to come back to AMX 250 and eventually MX2 World Championship. So remember the name. Thanks very much, Rick. Thank you.
Thanks.